I think we have enough people at the moment. Let's wait for a couple of seconds and we will start. Okay, so let me introduce myself. My name is Anna, and I'm a business development manager for TotaLite. Today's webinar is focused on settlement monitoring during active construction and how it can be brought in-house, reducing the need for expensive outsourced monitoring services. If you have any questions, you are super welcome to post them in the chat. I hope you're going to have some, and I'm going to answer them in the end of the session. And we also have a poll, so please participate. It's really good to know each other better. And we'll also check the results after the webinar when we will be doing follow-up. Okay, let's start. So, before we explore new approaches to settlement monitoring, I'd like to start with a quick overview of the construction market. Although the overall construction market is facing some challenges, infrastructure remains kind of bright spot. Major government investment and the need to replace aging assets mean that infrastructure projects continue to grow despite the wider market. The UK has committed over 530 billion to infrastructure over the next decade. Many major projects are already underway, including HS2, Lower Thames Crossing, Sizewell, etc. At the same time, much of the UK's existing infrastructure is reaching the end of its design life. Roads, railways, water networks, and power infrastructure all require increasing levels of maintenance and monitoring. Actually, this creates a strong demand for reliable monitoring solutions throughout both construction and operational life of these assets. When we think about construction, we usually focus on what's happening on the construction site itself. But monitoring isn't just about the construction area. It's equally important to understand what's happening in the surrounding environment. Construction often takes place next to existing buildings, roads, railways, or other infrastructure that need to remain fully operational throughout the project. That's why monitoring is so important. It allows you to detect movement early before it becomes a problem, helping to reduce risks and also protect surrounding areas and provide evidence for compliance and potential claims. Traditionally, this type of monitoring has been delivered in two ways. Larger contractors often have in-house surveying teams, and small companies or average size companies rely on specialist monitoring companies to provide the service. But how to act if you don't have an in-house monitoring team? Hiring specialists is expensive. Traditional systems can be complex and time-consuming to deploy. That is why, frankly speaking, guys, I do believe that any construction company should be aware of the brand new tool called TotaLite that actually helps to address these issues. What is TotaLite? TotaLite is an optical sensor for continuous remote settlement monitoring. It converts images of survey prisms into precise sub-millimetre 2D structural movement data. What is important, within one measurement cycle, TotaLite can detect up to 30 targets on a maximum distance of 70 meters. What this means for you? First of all, TotaLite can answer one simple question: did something move or not during the construction? Secondly, it is really kind of plug-and-play system and can be installed within 1 hour. And you don't need specialized training to work with the system. That means you don't need to be a surveyor to work with TotaLite. TotaLite also provides continuous monitoring instead of periodic measurements. That is why there is no need to do regular on-site visits, as the system operates fully autonomously. And of course, about the price, in the end of this presentation, you can ask more detailed question about this stuff, but I can say that TotaLite is 40% more cost-effective versus traditional surveying tools. A couple of more words about the sensor itself and its tech specs. First of all, it is really low power consumption. So it can be easily connected with a solar panel because it consumes only 2.7 watt per hour with the highest frequency of measurement. As for the frequency of measurement, it can be adjusted based on the need of your project. So the minimum frequency that we provide is every 5 minutes, and then it can go to once in an hour, 1.5 hours, once in a day, etc. TotaLite is super precise and super accurate. So at the distance of 20 meters, we provide accuracy 0.5 millimeters. At the maximum distance of 70 meters, we provide accuracy 1.75 millimeters, which is almost comparable to total station. And TotaLite has also special shield. It plays near the lens that actually open and wipe the lens from dirt, dust, spider webs, and rain. So this sensor is really go-to technology for outdoor conditions. TotaLite is not just, give me a second. Yeah, TotaLite is not just about the sensor. It's actually the complex solution. That is why TotaLite includes not only the hardware, but as well as a software. And first, we have special TotaLite app that actually supports you during the installation on site. So as far as TotaLite is image-based solution, and yeah, there is a special requirement for how the prisms and how the targets should be placed, because we need to avoid overlapping. And actually, TotaLite app helps you within this process on site. Secondly, we have TotaLite app, which is super friendly, easy to use with really simple interface. Now, again, you don't need special knowledge to work with the software, but in case, if you, for example, have your own software or program that you get used to and you would like to hold the data and keep the data there, it's really easy to push the data from our platform through simple API to your existing one. Also, we provide alerts. And of course, TotaLite is a relatively new technology on the market, and we're only celebrating this year first anniversary. So the product is developing like almost every day. That is why we're still creating additional tools. So as you noticed, I said that TotaLite provide 2D structural data, but we do receive a lot of requirements for 3D. That is why at the moment we have a special section on the platform that helps you to do setup for 3D measurements with a dual sensor solution. So you need two TotaLites and you're going to have like all the data in 3D. Before, of course, I can tell you a lot about TotaLite, but actually it doesn't make sense without a real case studies. At the moment, we're working with more than 100 surveying teams throughout the world. I'm going to share with you some examples of the projects that we implemented. But before that, I suggest to have to launch a small poll where we would like to know what challenges you normally face during monitoring projects. And yeah, we'll be happy if you'll be able to answer them. Okay, let's look at the real example. The first project that I would like to share was carried out for construction companies called Smulders Group with the help of their contractor Enigmatics that delivered the monitoring solutions in the Netherlands. The challenge was to monitor stability of a tower crane installed on a base founded on a weak soil. Because of the ground conditions, it was important to verify that the crane remained stable during normal day-to-day operations. The client also wanted to understand how the soil responded during control load tests. Traditionally, you would only get occasional snapshots from manual surveys. Here, the goal was different: to continuously monitor every single small movements and see how both the crane and the surrounding soil behaved over time, providing real-time insights instead of isolated measurements. The system also had to operate reliably outdoors in changing weather conditions, including rain. How the setup looks like? Well, actually, the setup was straightforward. The sensor was installed on a concrete block around 10 meters away from the crane, while prisms were mounted on each of the 4 crane bases. One of the advantages of this setup was that no separate reference point was required, because TotaLite is an optical system, and in most of the cases we need at least one reference point. The monitoring was carried out in 3 stages. So during the first stage, we collected 2 weeks of baseline data to understand the natural behavior of the ground before any load was applied. This was allowed by, this was followed by a 14 days load test, during which the system continuously monitored the crane base under load. And finally, monitoring continued for another 2 days after the load was removed to capture any residual settlement. Throughout the project, measurements were automatically uploaded to the cloud and were available to the client with approximately a 5 minutes delay, providing near real-time visibility of the site. Okay, the results. Let's start with the first stage. Throughout the monitoring period, all movements remained well below the 18 millimeters alarm threshold. We only observed the small millimetric level movements you would expect during normal lifting operations, with no long-term drift. This confirmed that crane remained stable despite being installed on weak soil. The controlled load tests provided some additional insights. The continuous data clearly showed that the day-night movement cycle caused by temperature changes, which would be difficult to capture with periodic service. And what is important, TotaLite also measured the temperature when it makes the measurements. As soon as the load was applied, we observed an immediate settlement of around 6 millimeters, followed by a gradual compression over time. After the load was removed, the ground partially recovered, demonstrating its elastic behavior. Overall, the client gained a complete picture of how the ground behaved before, during, and after loading. For relatively short-term projects like this, hiring a specialist surveying team or deploying a total station simply wasn't a cost-effective option. Instead, the monitoring was carried out in-house, providing continuous, near real-time data and giving the client greater confidence on both safety and risk management. Our next example comes from France, from the project ITER, where we work together with our partner Geo Instruments. Here, the objective was to monitor road movement above a machine as it progressed underground. At the same time, the client wanted to compare TotaLite with an automated total station to see whether the same monitoring objective could be achieved in a more cost-effective way, and also get a second opinion. Because the whole project actually had really tough weather conditions. So that was like frequent fog, rain, close to 100% humidity, and even standing water on the prisms. So a kind of conditions that are typically considered difficult for optical monitoring systems and even for total station. For this trial, TotaLite was installed directly on the same tower as the total station, giving both systems like the same stable reference and allowing a direct performance comparison. The site included 3 reference targets and 9 measurement targets distributed across the monitoring area. The total station served as a benchmark, so we could compare the measurements from both systems directly. One of the biggest differences was the installation, because setting up the TotaLite took around 1.5 hours, while installing total station and configuring it required approximately 1 full working day. That was the feedback from Geo Instruments. The results. So the monitoring showed a small settlement of around 1.5 millimeters, which was expected and occurred in a controlled manner. The site continued to be monitored for several weeks afterwards, confirming that there was no residual settlement. An important outcome is this of this trial actually was the comparison between TotaLite and the total station. On the chart, you can see red line, that is measurements from total station, and blue line is measurements taken by TotaLite, and they are almost the same. Despite the challenging environment conditions, actually both systems produce very similar results with comparable accuracy. We also observed that fog, rain, and high humidity occasionally affected measurements, but this happened to both systems with similar data available. The main difference came down to practically. While the measurement performance was comparable, TotaLite was significantly faster, cheaper, and easier to deploy. When the project is suitable for image-based monitoring, meaning the field of view and measurement geometry are appropriate, it provides a very cost-effective alternative to more expensive monitoring solutions. And last but not least, our example from the UK. This is the case of Branston Bridge, a 185-year-old masonry railway bridge owned by Staffordshire County Council. The monitoring was delivered by Terra Measurement as part of a refurbishment project. The objective was to ensure the bridge remained structurally stable while trains continued to operate on the line. Unlike the previous example, this project was carried out under normal site conditions during the summer and fall, making it a good example of day-to-day structural monitoring during construction works. As for the setup, for this project, more than 20 optical targets were installed across the bridge arch. The project used a combination of monitoring technologies, so alongside a total station and accelerometers, TotaLite was responsible for continuous displacement monitoring, providing real-time data and automatic alerts whenever movement exceeded predefined thresholds. As for the results, so one interesting finding was the daily movement caused by temperature, actually really similar to what happened in the Netherlands with the crane monitoring. And that was something that was very difficult to capture and to identify with periodic manual surveys. The measurements also showed a strong correlation with the total station. You also can see on the chart, red line stands for total station and blue line for TotaLite. And actually, continuous data made it possible to identify both long-term trends and short-term movements while using median-based alerts that helped reduce false alarms and improve the reliability of notifications. Sorry. From an operational perspective, the benefits were really significant. So our client achieved up to 65% cost savings by reducing the number of site visits, cut man hours, and travel by around 70%. They also improved safety by minimizing the amount of work carried out near the live railway. Terra Measurement actually moved from periodic inspections to continuous monitoring, providing much better visibility of the bridge throughout the refurbishment. So to wrap up today's, I hope concise but really informative webinar and today's examples, I think they show that monitoring doesn't always have to mean outsourcing or expensive complex setups. For many projects, it can now be done in-house, providing continuous data, faster decisions, and greater confidence throughout construction. I really hope these cases have given you some ideas and inspiration to your own projects. And thank you a lot for joining. our webinar. We have enough time for Q&A sessions, so I will be happy to answer. And if, for example, you have something on your mind or you want to explore TotaLite more, you can scan the QR code with my contact details and just drop me a message or make a print screen. And yeah, now questions. Give me a second. I will. See the results. Okay, I think we are waiting for questions to come. Oh, now we see the results of the poll. Are you using currently? Yeah, continuous mentoring. Oh, interesting. Almost 90% of the people who responded don't use continuous mentoring. Of course, I've got a question. Why? Because this is the interesting thing. So even though TotaLite, our like target market are surveying companies, but more and more without doing anything, we receive like more and more requests from construction companies, actually, who would like to do some monitoring works in-house. And that actually made us think that this market can be also relevant for you guys. I do know that we had some questions, but unfortunately, I can't see them. Oh, good. Is a TotaLite ineffective as periodic monitoring? It depends on what you mean under periodic monitoring. So TotaLite provides relative measurements, and actually this is a system for continuous monitoring as an opposite solution for periodic measurements, because actually you install TotaLite on site, go to the office, and TotaLite does the work. So actually, this is the main idea. If, for example, you want to use TotaLite as a manual total station when you go on site to do measurements one day in one place, the next day somewhere else, this is not the best solution, because TotaLite is for a continuous monitoring, so you install it and it stays there for some period of time. Okay. Are there experience in long steel old railway bridges? Yes. So actually, one of the example, long steel on. Okay, I got it. So the question was, are there experience in long steel old railway bridges? So we do have experience with bridges, as one of them I shared during this presentation. Specifically with steel bridges, I think we have a couple of examples in Germany. I'm not sure that they were that old as, for example, many bridges in the UK, but yes, we did some monitoring. But again, really interesting to know, what do you mean, how the material influence this question. Again, you can drop me a message directly to my email, through my contacts, and we can discuss it afterwards. Another question, and how does it work with the total station? So again, interesting question. Actually, TotaLite, I think it's something intermediate between total station and tilt sensors. TotaLite is completely independent technology that can be used in addition to total station or tilt sensors, or as an alternative to these solutions. You're probably going to need total station only in the beginning of working with TotaLite, when you're going to set the baseline, because it's very convenient to measure slope distance. That is one of the conditions for setting baseline. We need to know the distance between the sensor and the measurement targets, because this data afterwards will upload on the to the cloud platform. This is actually the only thing when you're going to need total station when working with TotaLite. In all other cases, this is completely independent technology. Thanks, Anna. How are teams currently monitoring equipment? Sorry, I was just like reading for myself, but I think I will read it for everybody. Thanks, Anna. How are teams currently monitoring equipment or structural movement on active sites, and how much of that is still manual inspections? Well, considering even answers within this like webinar, we can see that manual inspections are still kind of traditional approach to do monitoring on site, which actually I mentioned that during the presentation. I really believe that as many companies as possible should be aware that this can be done in a different way. Of course, there are cases when it is important to have surveyor on site, for example, when something happens. But actually, TotaLite helps you to prevent from sending surveyor or somebody from engineering team to go on site just to confirm that nothing has happened. So TotaLite can be like a first line control. When it detects something, only afterwards you send somebody on site to do manual measurements or use total station or something like that. But actually, it's a good helper and assistance on your project. Is this economical for small scale buildings? For sure. So TotaLite is 10 times less expensive than total station. And of course, for small projects or really short-term projects, let's say for 1 month, TotaLite is definitely a to-go solution, because it's just economically more interesting for the company. On what you said about data, what happens on your sites when connectivity drops? Do you lose data? Oh, this is really good question. So about connectivity, as I mentioned, TotaLite has internal eSIM card. That is how it is connected through mobile network. It also can be connected with an Ethernet cable. That is, for example, inside of the tunnel where there are some connectivity issues. If, for example, the connectivity is lost, TotaLite has an internal buffer where it can store up to 230 events. So on the average, if you do measurements, let's say every hour, this will be around 1 month. And when the connection will be available, all the data will be sent to the cloud. How many sensors or monitoring points would a typical job need? So we have TotaLite can detect up to 30 targets on a maximum distance of 70 meters. That means that normally we monitor 30 targets, 30 measurement points. And again, I would like to point out that in comparison with total station, for example, when you need to laser point 1 point in a measurement cycle, TotaLite takes a snapshot of really wider range of 30 targets simultaneously. And in some cases, this condition is crucial. Are there any AI agents doing any analysis of the data for one or many units? At the moment, we don't actively use AI agents on our platform, because as I mentioned, it is really kind of really simple and we don't have that much data. So we provide, when you go to the platform, you can see information about vertical and horizontal displacement, also some information about sensors telematics, but you can launch an AI agent on your platform. And this is actually what most of our clients do. So for example, when they need information, not just from TotaLite, but also from other devices, and they're gonna want to put it in like report 360 degrees, it can be done through your platform with our data that will be sent through API. Another question, is the model to use one total station to set calibrate multiple TotaLite units? Have a construction site intersected by 4 railway lines and multiple bridges. Okay, give me a second. I'm not sure that I understand the question. Is the model to use one total station to set calibrate multiple TotaLite units? If you're asking whether we provide total station to set TotaLite units, no, we don't, because normally all our clients get total station in-house, and they bring it only during the first setup, only to measure slope distance. Actually, you can do it manually or with a laser point, but it is more convenient to do with total station, but it's not the major requirement. Have a construction site inspected by 4 railway lines and multiple bridges. Intersected, I'm sorry. Bridges. This is a good question, but I don't understand. You want to know about whether it is possible to monitor with TotaLite 4 railway lines and multiple bridges. We already monitor bridges that is in the area where railway lines go. About the railway itself, I know that Network Railway got like strict conditions about what equipment can be placed on the tracks itself. And at the moment, we're in the process of improvement by Network Railway, so they can improve our technology. So at the moment, and actually for the railway tracks, doing monitoring with TotaLite may be not the best solution, because due to the shape, the distance on which TotaLite can see decreases till 30 meters. Otherwise, targets will stop overlapping due to the railway shape, the same as with the tunnel. And yeah, sometimes it is not that good, and prisms get dirty all over the time, and this is also the problem. So I think for tracks itself, it's better to use total station. Does the system use specialized targets, and how they are fixed to the structure being monitored? Actually, we use the same surveying prisms as you use when you work with total station. So you can buy it from Leica or order them at AliExpress or buy it from us. Now, this is regular surveying prisms, glass prisms, and they normally get screwed to the surface. Actually, considering the setup of the targets, you follow the same workflow and framework as you work with total station when you're setting the targets. How do you handle temperature and vibration noise so you're not flagging false positive on the live side? This is awesome question. So at the moment, we do not flagging any temperature changes. Actually, you can see it in one of the reports. For example, you want to know how the temperature changed during some specific period of time. You're going to see this information because it will be detected by TotaLite, but we don't have special alerting system for that. Vibration noise. This is a good question, because yes, it can influence. That is why, again, it is impossible to invent technology that will be like that you can use on 100% projects. So in some cases, when we have a lot of vibration or really active construction, TotaLite, of course, can be influenced by the noise, and yes, it can have. We can have a lot of noise in the data, unfortunately. Can data collected from TotaLite be integrated with AutoCAD, BIM, or other surveying software? Yes. Can TotaLite data feed into the formats we already use, or does it live in its own dashboard? we have our own dashboard that can be easily integrated into the format that you prefer. The only thing you need for that, you need software engineer on your side, who can like write special program or task for the software, but yes, it can be done. We have really good example how Academy Geomatics, the company from the UK, actually one of the first adopters of the TotaLite in the UK. So they actually did amazing jobs, amazing work inside of their platform, where they play with TotaLite data in from very different angles, adding it to CAD models and stuff like that. So yes, it can be done, of course. Okay. Do we have? Well, first of all, thank you a lot for very good questions. Please let me know if you get some more. I'm ready to answer. Okay, can Earth tremors in seismic areas be monitored? Oh my God, can Earth tremors in the seismic areas be monitored? With some devices, I do believe that there are a lot of, I don't believe I know that there are technologies that can provide this kind of measurements, but I think for TotaLite, so when we install sensor, one of the like conditions that we need to observe, TotaLite should be installed on a stable position. So in this regard, for example, the sensor moved and all the targets move, it can affect the data. But if, for example, we do monitor, so TotaLite can monitor each target separately and make a snapshot of 30 targets. But there is another scenario that, for example, you can use in the tunnel, you can monitor inter-target distance. And in this case, we don't need reference point. And actually, in this case, even if everything, for example, moves, it doesn't affect data that much. So you can just choose another setup, maybe to compensate this issue. What's the calibration and baseline setting process when we first install a unit on structure? So TotaLite doesn't need to be calibrated. And this is one of the biggest differences between TotaLite and other technologies that you have in the market. So for example, TotaLite can stay on site for several years and you don't need to calibrate or send it back to us. Yes, that is why even during the first installation, there is no calibration needed. So you just take TotaLite out of the box and install it. What's the process if a unit needs to be relocated mid-project as the site changes? This is a really good question because, as I mentioned, TotaLite is designed for like continuous monitoring and for some during some period of time. So if, for example, you decided to relocate the sensor in the middle of probably maybe even existing project, you need to set the baseline from the start. Yes, this is how it works. How does pricing changes if we need 50 points versus 5 on a large infrastructure job? So this is awesome question because our pricing is not dependent on, our price doesn't depend on the number of targets that you monitor, how many projects you have. So you pay one time for the sensor, which price is, I think this is open information, 2.9 K euros, around 3,000, and that's it. And after that, you pay a subscription. Subscription starts from 180 euros for one sensor, and subscription includes everything. Access to the platform, as many projects as you want, as many targets as you want, so it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if you have 5 monitoring targets or 30, 50 points. Technically, TotaLite can detect 50 points, but we saw that it hardly ever happened without problems because to monitor in one cycle this amount of targets, it is impossible to place targets without overlapping. So 30 is the best quantity for TotaLite. Okay, can your sensor detect gradual settlement over months as reliable as they catch a sudden shift? This is really good question. Actually, yes, because TotaLite, one of the ideas of the sensor also to detect not only something that happens, like something move in one specific time, but to create the trend, how the structure behaves over a long period of time also. So of course, if you've got sensor on site, you will see all the trends and everything that is happening over some period of time. Can different teams or subcontractors get restricted access to just their site's data? Yes, we have really interesting feature on our platform. So if, for example, you have a client and you would like to share some information about their project, but you don't want to make them admin of this project and change something, we have a so-called like, oh my God, I forget how it's called in English. I'm sorry, English is not my native language. So you can send a link to this project. They can enter the project. They can see all the data, but just in a mode of visitor. So yes, you can share the data with your clients, but they don't change or influence it or do something. Anna, I came to this event expecting an application to erection of buildings. Is this or another system applicable, for instance, to mass housing, aiming to use of site manufacturing with site assembly? This is good question. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that I can provide the answer because manufacturing with site assembly, I don't know. I'm sorry. We have another question. What does onboarding look like for a survey team with no IoT background? Is there a training or is it meant to be self-serve? This is a really good question because we support all our clients during your project right from the start. First of all, as I mentioned, TotaLite is really easy to use. So you don't need to be surveyor or IoT expert to work with the system. We send you the sensor, you open it. We got a lot of tutorials and explanation how at least to get acquainted with the system. Then we're gonna have an onboarding session with our customer success manager, where we're gonna look through the whole questions, explain how it works. Also, together with you, we will help to prepare a monitoring plan for a specific project. If you will need support on site, we can also provide this. But anyway, no, you won't be left alone because we got some clients that are not familiar with monitoring or only trying to sell this service to their clients, and they are not monitoring experts. And of course, we will support you during the whole life period and our collaboration. What technologies or AI platforms are currently utilized in instruction project management, specifically in decision making? I don't know. I can't answer this question because actually what we do at the moment, so we can push our data to the existing platform. We do not provide any data to our platform. So that is like first class API. And what I see at the moment, actually, it's like 50-50%, 50 to 50 split, because 50% of our clients got their own platform where they use our data, and that is specifically designed for their needs. And the rest use like something all the industry get used to, like basic stuff. Please repeat last steps. last steps of what? Of installation or something? Could you please explain? How long is the data retained, and is there any audit trial if a reading is ever disputed in a claim? This is really good question. Give me a second because I want to answer it without any mistakes, and I just want to check something in. Give me 1 second. I will be in a minute. Oh, this is a good question. Actually, all the data is stored within the period that you use the platform. So, for example, you have TotaLite, you're paying the subscription, you have all the data that will be stored on the platform. If, for example, you don't use TotaLite, in this case, you pause the subscription, actually store data for about 2 months. So our recommendation, if, for example, you know that you need information and data that was collected within the project for possible further complaints or claims or something like that, we recommend to upload everything to your platform or somewhere to your backlog. Because otherwise, after 2 months since the subscription was paused, the data will be deleted. Please, okay. Thank you so much for adding some explanation. Please repeat last steps. Project management work possible within AI or robotic tool, benefit or disadvantage. Okay. About about use of AI. Yeah, probably it wasn't that clear from my answer. So on our platform, we do not use AI for like as a user experience. We do have chatbots, and you can ask some questions and something like that. But actually, if you work with a project where you need AI, it's probably better to do with other platform and with other resources, where you can use data collected by TotaLite and upload it there. I can't say what is the benefit or disadvantage of robotic tool or something like that, because unfortunately I'm not an expert in this field. If the system is the system independently tested or certified for structural monitoring use, or is that validation something we need to do ourselves? Actually, so TotaLite is certified with European certification, like general. I'm not sure that, not sure, or we wasn't certified for like structural monitoring use specifically. And I think, I know that in the UK, especially with some works with buildings and homes, sometimes it is required, but no, we have like general certification that the product is safe and can be used, but without a specific area. Okay, we have 10 minutes left. Let's wait for a minute if there will be no other questions. So in this case, we can say goodbye to each other. And I'm definitely going to wish you a happy weekend in one day. Oh, thank you so much. No more questions. Okay, awesome. Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you for your questions. If some questions were left unanswered or you didn't have time to put it in the chat, please, you are again welcome. Drop me a message. We can arrange a separate call. If something about certification and more like tricky questions about this matter you still have, please also drop me a message, because as far as I assume these questions came from the UK, it slightly differs from what is happening in the Europe. So we can figure out together what we have at the moment, what we can provide for you. So you can use TotaLite, or what is missing, and in this case, what we need to do from our side to make TotaLite be easy to use for you on site. Okay, thanks a lot. You were a wonderful audience. Yeah, happy Thursday, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks.